Hi everyone, it's Veronica from Blue Star Crochet and I am bringing you another beautiful crochet stitch tutorial today. I'm going to teach you how to work lacy shell stitch. This is a very simple variation on the classic shell stitch where you basically work 5 double crochet all in one stitch, and you kind of fan out the top and it creates the lacy texture, shell texture. But this one is slightly different because I have actually replaced a couple of the double crochet stitches with chain spaces, so you haven't got a solid shell shape but rather lacy one, and it creates this beautiful subtle texture which is combined with these open spaces too. So let's get into the tutorial for the lacy shell stitch. So for today's tutorial, just to give you little details, I'm using the rainbow 8/8 hobby cotton yarn. This is olive green, I believe, or color 21. And I'm also using a 4mm crochet hook. So to start the tutorial, we're going to start with the foundation chain. Now for the lacy shell stitch to work out, you will need multiples of 6 plus 2 extra chains to start with. So for the tutorial, I'm going to chain 14. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I'm going to start with a foundation chain of 14 chain stitches. Now the first stitch we're going to make is going to be a single crochet stitch. So I'm going to skip the first stitch and I'm going to start working in the second chain from the hook, and I'm going to make 1 single crochet. So that's insert your hook, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through both. That's your first single crochet made. Now I'm going to miss the following 2 chain stitches here. We're not going to place any stitches into these 2 chains. I'm going to simply skip them, but I'm going to work into the next chain. And what I'm going to place in this chain is 1 double crochet. So I started with yarn over, 1 double crochet into that chain stitch. Okay, now if you were working the classic shell stitch, you would just simply place 5 double crochet all in that same stitch. But because we're turning the shell into a lacy shell, I'm going to skip the 5 double crochet, and we're going to work 1 double crochet, chain 1, and I'm going to work another double crochet into that very same stitch. Okay, now I'm going to chain 1 again, and I'm going to place another double crochet into that very same stitch. Okay, so what we've done is double crochet, 1 chain, double crochet, 1 chain, and double crochet. Now I'm going to go back to the foundation chain, and I'm going to miss another 2 chains here, and I'm going to place 1 single crochet into the next chain like this. And now I'm going to skip 2 stitches again, and I'm going to work another lacy shell into the next chain. So I'm going to place 1 double crochet, 1 chain, 1 double crochet, 1 chain, and another double crochet like this. And that leaves me with the last 3 chains of the foundation chain. I'm going to skip the next 2 and I'm going to place 1 single crochet in the very last chain right here. Okay, so this is just a small sample to show you. So we started with single crochet, missed 2 stitches, then we placed the lacy shell in that next stitch, skip 2, single crochet, skip 2, another lacy shell, skip 2, and 1 single crochet in the last foundation chain. So this is the first row of the lacy shell stitch. Now to start the second row, we're going to start with like a half lacy shell just to work on the edge. So for the second row, I'm going to chain 4. Now this chain 4 is going to count as the first double crochet stitch and 1 chain space. So I'm going to chain 4. Okay, and I'm going to work another double crochet into the stitch which is at the bottom of this beginning chain. So I'm going to yarn over, insert the hook and place double crochet into that very first stitch. So this basically counts as double crochet, 1 chain space and another double crochet. It's to represent kind of a half lacy shell. Then I'm going to find the middle double crochet. If I pick out the 3 double crochets of the lacy shell, I'm going to find this middle stitch and I'm going to place 1 single crochet into the top of that very stitch there to kind of fix it in position there. Okay, so that's how we started the second row. Now I'm going to miss the rest of the stitches of the lacy shell and I'm going to find the single crochet stitch which I placed between the 2 lacy shells, and this is the stitch we're going to work a full lacy shell into this single crochet right here. So I'm going to place 1 double crochet, okay, chain 1, second double crochet, chain 1 and third double crochet. Okay, and now that brings me onto the second lacy shell stitch, and again I'm going to find the middle double crochet stitch which is right here, and I'm going to place 1 single crochet into the top of the middle double crochet. Now I'm going to skip the next chain 1 space and the last double crochet, which brings me onto the very last stitch, which was the single crochet. And into this last single crochet, again, we need to match the beginning of the row. So we're going to work half of the lacy shell into the very last single crochet. So we kind of have 2 shell stitches here, and in the second row we've got the 1 full lacy shell stitch in the middle, and we need the 1/2 and the second half either end of the row. Okay, so I'm going to find my very last single crochet, which is this stitch here, and I'm going to place 1 double crochet, then I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to place another double crochet into the very last stitch, which creates the other half of that lacy shell stitch. Okay, so to start the third row, we're going to basically repeat the first row, but we'll be working into a row which has already got the lacy shell. So I'm just going to walk you through the third row, and then row 2 and row 3 will become the pattern repeat that you can repeat as many times as you want to reach the desired length of your project. Okay, so to start row 3, I'm going to chain 1, and we're going to place 1 single crochet in the very first stitch. Okay, now we're going to completely miss the first half of the lacy shell stitch, and I'm going to find the single crochet stitch between the 2 lacy stitches. Okay, so we placed single crochet, I'm gonna miss the next 1 chain space and miss the double crochet stitch, which brings me onto the single crochet stitch, and this is the stitch I'm going to work another group of double crochet and chain stitches to create the first lacy shell. Okay, so this is the first lacy shell stitch created there. That brings me onto the lacy shell in the middle, and again I'm going to skip the double crochet and the 1 chain space, which brings me onto the middle double crochet of that lacy shell, and I'm going to place 1 single crochet into that stitch there. Then I'm going to miss the next 1 chain space, miss the double crochet, which brings me onto the single crochet stitch again, and this is where we're going to place the second lacy shell stitch by working double crochet, chain 1, another double crochet, chain 1, and the last double crochet. Okay, and that brings me onto the other half of the lacy shell stitch of row 2, where I've got double crochet, then the 1 chain space and the double crochet. So when we started row 2, this was a chain 4, and as I said, it counts as the first double crochet and chain 1 space. So I'm going to place 1 single crochet into the third chain of the beginning 4 chain stitch. So that will represent working into the top of the double crochet, as we did on the other side, like this. Okay, so here we go. This is just a small sample of the lacy shell stitch. As you can see, if you block it out nicely, it will provide you with lovely lacy open stitches and provide you with a little bit of texture as well. So for the pattern repeat, as I said, you're going to repeat row 2 and row 3 as many times as you like until you reach the desired size of the project you're making. So I'm going to once again show you the bigger sample of the stitch, which is right here. So as you can see, it's a lovely, very simple stitch, which provides you with lovely texture and lovely open spaces as well. So now I have finished my large rectangle for the bag. I have done 22 shells across, and I have completed 50 rows, so I've got a large rectangle. Now what we're going to do is cinch the 2 shorter edges of the rectangle. Now this is going to be where we're going to attach the handle. Okay, so here is my large rectangle, and I've already done one side, so I can show you what we're going to do next. So here we go. This is as I said, this is the shorter edge of the rectangle. So I worked down the ends of each row, so we're going to be working around the end stitches of each row because the rectangle kind of runs this way. That's the direction of work. but we're going to be working this way across the end stitches of each of the rows. Okay, so this is what we're going to basically create. We're going to cinch the ends. This is very similar to when you crochet a hat from a rectangle. You kind of need to cinch the ends of the rows together to make them smaller, and this is where then our handle is going to fit. So if I quickly show you, so that's the round wooden handle, and this is exactly where it's going to sit, like this. So that's the plan. We're going to then attach the handle onto each end. Once we have done that, then we're going to go working across this edge because we need to kind of cinch that one together as well. But let's start with the other side of the shorter edge of the rectangle. Okay, so this is the end of the row, and we're going to be, so that was the direction of work. Now we're going to be working across this edge down here. Okay, so I'm gonna, as you got it this way, I'm gonna turn it 90 degrees this way, and we're going to be working around the end stitches of each of the rows. Okay, so I repeated the pattern for 50 rows, and now I'm going to be working across the end stitches of each row. So I'm gonna join a new ball of yarn. I haven't fastened off the other side because I'm going to use that for attaching the handles, because I don't want to sew a load of ends in. So across this edge you will have either a row that finishes with double crochet or a row that finishes with single crochet. So in order to cinch these rows together to create kind of a smaller edge, we are going to be working 2 single crochet around each double crochet at the end of the row, and when the row finishes with single crochet, we're going to simply miss. Okay, so we're not going to work into the single crochet, we're only going to work into around the double crochet stitches there. Okay, so I've got my first row that finishes with double crochet, so I'm going to place 2 single crochet around the double crochet stitch. Next row is the single crochet, which we're going to simply miss, and I'm going to move on to the next row that finishes with double crochet, and I'm going to place 2 single crochet around that stitch. Again, miss the single crochet, and this is the double crochet, so 2 single crochet around that stitch. And you can kind of, when you look at the fabric, you can see where the large gaps are formed by the double crochet stitches, so you can see exactly where you need to work into this kind of bigger spaces here. So I'm gonna just go ahead and repeat working 2 single crochet around each double crochet at the end of the rows, and as you can see, even after a few stitches, you can see how this is starting to obviously cinch together. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. So I'm going to repeat working 2 single crochet around each double crochet, and I'll meet you at the very end. Right, so I have gone all the way across and worked 2 single crochets in the very last double crochet, but what we're gonna do is, because as you can see this is not quite right to the edge of the bag, so I'm going to place 1 single crochet into the very last single crochet. Okay, now this will bring your total stitch count to 51. Okay, so I've got 51 single crochet stitches across there. Now I'm going to turn, and for the second row we're going to work a repeat of 1 single crochet and then single crochet the following 2 stitches together. Okay, so I'm going to chain 1 to start the row. This doesn't count as a stitch, and I'm going to work 1 single crochet, and then I'm going to single crochet the following 2 stitches together. So pull up a loop through 1 stitch, through second stitch, and then simply single crochet those 2 stitches together. And again, 1 single crochet and single crochet the next 2 stitches together. And I'm basically just going to repeat this all the way across. And after completing row 2, you should have 34 stitches. Okay, so that will bring your stitch count from 51 to 34. Obviously, if you know, if you're off by a stitch or 2, I really wouldn't worry about it that much, because as long as the result is the same, that it's kind of cinching it together, and at the end of this bit you kind of have something that resembles this, whether you've got a couple of extra stitches or not. It really isn't that big a deal. It's not a garment, it's just a bag. So I will give you the stitch count, obviously, for as something to keep track of, but as I said, it's really not a big deal if you've got a couple of extra stitches. So just enjoy the process. So here we go. As you can see, it's slowly starting to take shape and it's cinching together. So for row 3, we're going to work a repeat. But before we get into the repeat, we're just going to work 2 single crochet. Okay, so chain 1, 1 single crochet, second single crochet. Okay, so these 2 stitches are just on the edge. It's basically for the repeat to work out across the amount of stitches we've got. So I worked 1 single crochet into each of the first 2 stitches, and now we're going to get into the repeat. Again, we're going to work 1 single crochet and single crochet the next 2 stitches together. Okay, so 1 single crochet and single crochet the following 2 stitches together. And again, we're going to repeat 1 single crochet, single crochet 2 together all the way across the row until we get to the very last 2 stitches. So the repeat will work out to there, and then we're just going to work 1 single crochet into the last 2 stitches to match the beginning of the row. Okay, so here we are after completing row 4. Okay, and the total stitch count now is 24 single crochet. So as you can see, we kind of halved the number of stitches. We started with 51 and now we're at 24 single crochet, and this is the end stitch count. Okay, so now we're just going to work 2 more rows of plain single crochet. Okay, so just 1 single crochet in each stitch across, and you're going to repeat that for 2 rows. So we're going to have 5 rows in total, and by kind of just repeating the 2 rows, this is going to get a little bit more tighter, and we're going to end up with something like this. As you can see, this is much smaller, but by working the last 2 rows, we're going to make it a little bit more tighter. So for the last 2 rows, if you want to tighten up your tension, so this sort of half moon shape becomes a little bit smaller. So 2 more rows of just plain single crochet right the way across. Okay, so after you complete row 5, don't fasten off your yarn, because we're gonna go ahead and attach the handles straight away. Right, so we're going to just chain 1, and to attach the handle, we're gonna go through the stitch, but each kind of yarn over and pull through, we're going to do that around the handle. Okay, so I've only chained one to start the row, and what I'm going to do is this is going to be a little bit tricky. You're going to have to find a way to do this comfortable. So I'm going to insert my hook into the first stitch, then I'm going to hold the handle behind, and to yarn over, I'm going to go kind of under. I'm going to go, see the working yarn is on top of the handle, but I'm going to go under the loop with my hook and pull the yarn. Okay, so here it is where I pulled it, and I'm going to pull it through the stitch. Okay, and I've got 2 loops on a hook here, and then I'm going to yarn over again across the top and pull through the 2 loops to finish off my single crochet. Okay, so I'm using single crochet to attach the handle. So let's do that again. I've got my working yarn to the front of the handle, as you can see. Let me get a bit closer. So that's my working yarn, and I'm going to go into the next single crochet. Okay, and I'm going to insert the hook through the single crochet, but I'm going to go under the handle and pull the working yarn kind of from the back. Okay, pull it through the stitch. So you've got 2 loops on a hook, and then my working yarn, as you can see, is behind the loop. So I'm going to yarn over again and pull it over and pull it through the 2 loops on a hook. Okay, so let's do another stitch together slowly. So I'm going to insert my hook through the next stitch, and as you can see, the working yarn is at the front. So I'm going to go under the handle with my hook and grab the yarn from behind and pull it here and through the loop, through the stitch rather. So I've got 2 loops on a hook, but now my yarn is at the back, so I'm going to grab it and bring it back to the front and pull it through both of the loops to finish off my single crochet. Okay, and as you can see, depending what handle you're using, this one's a little bit bumpy, so I'm gonna just try and bunch up the loops. Okay, so one more, let's do one more together. Through the stitch, under the handle, I'm gonna pull it through. Now I'm back here with my hook through the stitch to pull up a loop. Now my yarn is behind, so I'm going to go ahead and grab it and pull it through both of the loops on a hook. Okay, so you're going to repeat this all the way across the stitches. And as you can see, for each stitch that you work, you're going to have 2 loops on a handle, which is going to make it sit nicely in that groove there. Okay, and obviously when you get to the very last stitch, just fasten off as normal, and that's your handle attached. And after you attach both of the handles on both ends, we're going to sort out the sides of the bag and just cinch them together a little bit to make it into a bag shape. So as you can see, I have now attached handles to both shorter edges of the rectangle for the bag. Now we're going to be working across the longer edge of the rectangle, which is going to be this is basically the underside of the starting chain, so we're going to be working into that one. And then on the other side, this is the very last row, so we're going to be working across that edge too. What we basically need to do is reduce the stitch count for both of the sides, so the bag kind of cinches together nicely on the side. And once we do that, if you can see, it's kind of going to like gather up a bit on the side, which will give the bag a nice shape. So yeah, I haven't fastened off either of the sides, so I've got 2 working yarns there, but no problem if you did. It's just that one is obviously we're going to work down that edge, and with this one I'm going to work down that edge. So yeah, let's get to it. Okay, so the first edge I'm gonna work on is the underside of the starting chain. Okay, so this is kind of the foundation chain that we made, and I'm now gonna work into the underside of the chain. And the spaces we're going to be working at is like, if you can see, this is the upside down shell. Oh, let me just spin it the right way. So that's your shell. Okay, and if you can rightly remember, we were kind of do the single crochet, miss 2 chains, make the lacy shell, miss 2 chains, that's a single crochet, again that's another lacy shell there, and you got either side of the shell, you've got these 2 chain spaces that we were skipping. So these are the 2 chain spaces we're going to be working into. Okay, we're going to be placing 2 single crochet into each of these 2 chain spaces. Okay, so I've got my yarn attached here at the top where we cinched the edge. Okay, so this is where I'm at. So you need to join your yarn into sort of the first single crochet, the end single crochet of these rows, and I'm just going to simply work single crochet right across these rows like this. Okay, until we get to the underside of the starting chain. Okay, so these are, we did 5 rows, so all you need to do is 1 2 3 4 5 single crochet. Okay, because we have 5 rows on this bit, so it's 1 single crochet all the way down that bit there. Okay, so that's what we did, and now we're going to start working into the underside of the starting chain. So I'm going to find my first 2 chain space, which is here, and I'm going to simply place 2 single crochet into that one. Then we're going to miss the shell, the stitch where the shell is worked into, and find the next 2 chain space, and I'm going to work 2 single crochet into that space. Okay, so I'm just going to repeat this all the way down this edge, placing 2 single crochets into each of those 2 chain spaces. Okay, so something like this. It's not going to probably cinch too much at the moment, but we just kind of need to get the stitches together, and then we will be working them together, making the edge a little bit smaller. So I'm just going to carry on and work all the way across until I kind of reach this point here, and then we will join back in and I'll show you what to do. Right, so I have come to the end of the row, and as you can see, I changed my hook because I grabbed the wrong size, so never mind. Right, so we come to the end of the row. I worked across the end single crochet there, and what I'm going to do is make another loop around the handle, because I don't want the end of this row to kind of be hanging off. So I worked through the last single crochet, the edge stitch here. So if I just pull it out and show you, so this is the last row. Okay, and I'm going to work 1 single crochet into that stitch there. Okay, Then I'm going to go back through the single crochet, but we're going to loop around the handle again. So I go under the handle and grab the pull up the loop like this. Oh, gosh. And then I'm going to pull another loop over the top of the handle and pull through both loops like this. Okay, now this little stitch here doesn't count into, just we're just gonna turn and we're going to ignore it. That was purely to just attach the loop around the handle. Okay, so at this point, because we did 5 stitches across here, 5 stitches across the other side, and then 2 stitches into each of the 2 chain space, you should end up with even a number of stitches. Okay, so the second row for this is going to be just working single crochet 2 together all the way across. Okay, so we're going to insert the hook into one stitch, insert the hook into the next stitch, got 3 loops on a hook, and just pull through. Okay, and this is going to be repeated all the way across, which means it will cinch the side of the bag even more and create a nice shape to it. Okay, so I'm going to just carry on repeating single crochet 2 together all the way across until we reach the other side, and then we're going to do 1 stitch around the handle on the other side, like we just did then. Okay, so I'm going to carry on all the way across, and I will meet you back at the end of the row. Right, so I've come to the end of the row, and I'm going to work my very last single crochet 2 together across the last 2 stitches here. Like this, and then again I'm gonna go and make another loop around the handle. Okay, so I'm gonna insert the hook and pull up a loop over the handle, and then pull up this way and pull through the 2 loops. It's exactly the same as when we were attaching a handle. Right, so here we go. This is the result of the 2 rows we just did. So as you can see, the side has been nicely cinched like this. If you wanted to, you could cinch it even more, but I'm going to leave it like this because I think that's giving us a nice shape. But I'm going to just go and work 1 single crochet into each stitch across, just to tidy up the edge a little bit more. So that's going to be row 3 of the side. So as you can see, if I show you this way, it's all getting kind of cinched nicely together to create the finished shape of the bag. So again, to just work 1 single crochet all the way across, because as you can see, when you single crochet 2 together, the top loop becomes a little bit bigger because you're pulling 2 stitches together. So if we just add another row of single crochet all the way across, it will tidy up the edge a little bit more and cinch it ever so slightly. Okay, so that's just going to be 1 single crochet all the way across, and when you reach the last stitch, I'm going to do another loop around the handle there again. Okay, so that's going to be this side finished, and I'm going to show you how to cinch the other side because that's the last row. So that's going to be a little bit different, very much the same stitch count, but we're going to be working in a different space. So I will show you how to do that next. Okay, so now I'm going to be working on the other side. So we're going to cinch the last row of the rectangle we did. So this is the very last row. You can see that we ended up on the shells. Okay, so if you fastened off, then just join your yarn into the around the last single crochet of the row. So we're going to do 1 single crochet around each end single crochet of these 5 rows, and then we're going to move on working across the shells. Okay, so I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to start working 1 single crochet around each end single crochet of these last 5 rows we did. That's 4 and 5. Okay, that brings me onto the last row. So we finished the last row with half shell here, so that was chain 4 and 1 double crochet here. So we're going to use this 1 chain space, okay, and we're going to place 2 single crochet into that 1 chain space there. Okay, then we're going to miss the double crochet, miss the single crochet, which brings us onto this lacy shell, and we're going to use these 1 chain spaces here. Okay, so in the same, to mirror the underside of the foundation chain, we're going to work 2 single crochet into these 1 chain spaces, just as we did place 2 single crochet in the 2 chain spaces on the underside of the foundation chain. So we're going to be using these spaces here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and place 2 single crochet into the 1 chain space of the first shell, then skip the double crochet and place 2 single crochet into the next 1 chain space. Okay, then we're gonna miss the last double crochet, miss the single crochet, which brings us onto the next lacy shell. I'm gonna miss the double crochet and use these 2 1 chain spaces of those shells, and I'm gonna place 2 single crochet into each of those 2 1 chain spaces. Okay, and as you can see, that's starting to cinch together. So again, I'm going to move on to the next lacy shell and use the 2 1 chain spaces there and place 2 single crochet into each one. Okay, and this is basically what we're going to do for the rest of the row. And again, when we reach the end of the row, we're going to loop around the handle again like we did on the other side, so we haven't got sort of the ends of the row sticking out. Okay, so I'm going to carry on placing 2 single crochet into each 1 chain space of each of the shells, and I will meet you back at the end of the row and show you how to finish off this row. Okay, so I have worked all the way across the row, which brings me, so that's the last shell I used. We're going to skip the double crochet, skip the single crochet, and that brings us onto the last half shell. So we're going to grab the 1 chain space and just work 2 single crochet into that 1 chain space to mirror the other side. And then again, I'm going to work 1 single crochet into each end single crochet of the next 5 rows. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Ooh, handle's in the way. And 5, and again I'm gonna loop around the handle. So we're gonna insert the hook back into the last stitch we just worked into and pull up a loop around the handle and then pull over the handle and pull through. Okay, so this is the first row of the other side, and basically what you need to now do is repeat row 2 and row 3 like we did on the other side. So row 2 will be single crochet 2 together all the way across to halve the amount of stitches we've got. Okay, so that's 1 single crochet 2 together all the way across, reducing the number of stitches. And then row 3 was just plain single crochet right away across. Don't forget that each time you get to the end of the row, just do another loop around the handle so you haven't got the ends of the row sticking out. And then yeah, that will be the bag finished. So I will meet you back when it's all done. Okay, so apart from a few ends that need to be sorted, the bag is now finished. So as you can see, it's got a lovely round shape where we cinched it all. So that's the whole bag there with the nice bamboo handles. So I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial. It is quite a good tutorial to use for any rectangle. Okay, so if you have any other rectangles that you use different stitches for, and you want to turn them into the bag, you just cinch the short end and attach handles, and then cinch the longer ends on the sides to create a nice kind of half moon shaped bag. It is quite good because it doesn't look big, but it sure expands to be quite big. Okay, so it's a good bag to use for beach if you want to stuff some towels or blankets in there and bottles of water or anything like that. It'll come in quite handy. So I hope you enjoyed today's video tutorial. If you wanted to see more from me, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, like and comment, and hopefully see you next time. Thank you for watching.